Hey everybody, it's Dave with No Chaser, and you know, I've been away for a month. I'm officially 30 days sober today. I had videos that were just scheduled to post. That's why I have the same exact haircut and facial hair. I was actually changing shirts just to change up the scenery, I guess, and that's why I haven't answered. Normally I'm on top of comments or the emails that came in. So sorry about that, but for today's topic, I just want to do something a little more personal and just talk about what this past year has been like. It has been very, very up and down. Many times of hopelessness, many times of, I don't, just being lost. So I'll break it down like this. When I was 15 is when I really got hooked on drugs and alcohol. Mainly it was drugs at the time, opiates, pain pills, Oxycontin, all that type of stuff. I first went to treatment when I was 19, and I just imagined to myself that drugs were just a thing of the past, just a bad sort of state of being that I was in. And, now I've done the treatment, and I plan never to do drugs again. Spoiler alert, and that didn't work out. But anyways, then I started drinking, and I found out that no, this is where things really begin. And that was my way of being for about 7 years. I drank every single day, all day, in this weird, as I like to put it, a morphine drip type of way. Not so much getting off work and getting blotto or anything like that. Just a steady buzz throughout the day, and just as what I refer to as the dog days of drinking. Just maybe going a full year without ever blowing double zeros on a breathalyzer. If one where I was approached by one, just a blur. Like those years were just, the days were long and the years went by fast. And then I went to some treatments. I was really trying a lot of times, and I wasn't able to figure it out. Wasn't able to grasp what I needed to. I don't know. Just still thought I was stuck, falling to some of the old delusions that many people fall into that keeps them stuck. And then for about 7 years after that, they were mostly sober. Horrific, relapses in between. You're talking 4 months, 6 months, 3 months, almost a year and a half, 6 months, 9 months, just is kind of, having good times of sobriety and real recovery, and then just a lot of times it's just white knuckling it and just barely getting by, getting to points where I'm like, man, I'm so miserable, I might as well just drink. At least there's temporary reprieve in that. And then some really good times where I felt change and growth. That's where I've accomplished in most of my adult life all the things that have been worthwhile when I've been sober. But this past year has been very troubling to me, because it's been like, as I feel like, a regression. Just not able to put together, just we're talking weeks, 2 weeks, a week, maybe close to a month, and then one time a month, but that was only because of a treatment. And I find myself, I'm just going, what is happening? I'm worse. This is back to like the dog days of drinking, and now a new drug got involved. And I was like, oh god, now we have two monsters we have to fight. We have to fight the DXM, and we have to fight alcohol. And it just, like I said, the real key word is just regression. And I try to just stay on top of things, try to remain somewhat optimistic, but it's just a lot of, I would say up and down, but not a lot of ups. Just a lot of, confusion and some self-pity, some self-loathing, but also just a sort of like, again, lost is really the term. And like some of the stuff like the DXM, dextromorphan, it's what they put in like cough syrups and stuff. I was just starting to lose my mind. It was a whole new arena of weird things happening, and I don't know if it felt like maybe I just was just giving up without like consciously being aware of it. I thought I was fighting, but I wasn't able to put together any sort of time, and it was just disappointing. It was just like, how many times am I just gonna like restart? And that seems to be like a lot of my life. It's just the building and the restarting, the building, the destruction, and restarting. Just whether it's in a new job or a new relationship at times. I mean, I've had basically 3 long-term ones. just new scenery, just all the stuff that I know wouldn't fix me, but I thought would be a good start, a good foundation to start over again. But I just, just recently, just haven't been able to not only shake it, but just keep off for any significant amount of time. And it just gets harder to make some of these videos, and it gets, just like, I don't know. Like, this is not an advice channel by any means. It's to give the experience of a alcoholic and an addict and a person trying to get sober, trying to stay sober. And man, I can't tell you what, like, that feeling of hopelessness and the sense of being lost, and I don't know what I'm doing. Am I gonna make it out of this? And recently I felt in a good place, like some real, like, I came to another facility, and I'm just like, just pretend this is the first time, pretend that this is just your first go around, and don't have any pretensions or think by any means that you know everything, because clearly you don't. And I've said this before, and there's a sort of frightening deja vu that comes with, like, when people ask you what's different this time around. And for many years now I've been like, I don't know, I just hope it works out. Sometimes I've been able to put together a decent amount of time, and then sometimes not. But I just if there anybody else is out there where you're stuck in this, one way I've put it, I think I've mentioned this before, where you have cycles, your cycle of addiction, your cycle of use, and then shame or guilt from the use, and it just fuels you to use more, or you're just stuck in it. Your brain is so hijacked, you just can't even fathom quitting or stopping, even for a day. And then, I've been part of this, that was one cycle, kind of like your daily or weekly sort of cycle. And then there's been this seemingly bigger cycle, where it's the getting sober, getting clean, going back into recovery and sobriety, and then building some stuff back up, improving your life, and then just crashing down again. And it's been a lot of just talk and introspection and reflection on my life, and just how are we going to just stay the course? And one thing that I heard that was pretty novel is that I know, whether I consciously knew it or not, that there was an idea that I need to improve myself. I need to better myself, to have a life that's worth living, or a life at all. But this other idea came to me, was just like, maybe not a better version of yourself, but just a new version. And it's been this, so far, just this complete sort of overhaul in my mind of just doing everything different, doing stuff like that I don't want to do, still don't really like doing. Did things like just praying in the morning, even on my knees praying. I don't know what I'm doing, but we're just gonna do this. Going out of many sort of comfort zones, just really paying attention to thoughts, not letting them run rampant. Just doing all these sort of exercises, all these sort of things. Just at times, like making actual pros and cons lists, and just all this stuff that I kind of like intuitively knew was good, and kind of did it my way. And I said, I'll do a pros and cons list in my head. It's like, no, how about you just literally write it down? Writing down things like that, oh God, one of the hardest ones for me. It's like the positive affirmations, all this self-betterment stuff, and actually having the stickers and the things in the window, like one right there that you can see. Actually just writing down, and as cheesy as it may sound, or as much as you don't believe it, or just doing it. So much of stuff is just like, dude, just doing it. And it's this idea of a sort of complete surrender, and as I would call it, a positive form of hopelessness. Like the hopelessness of I had obviously some sense. It's like, dude, you can't. I had a sense that I can't use drugs and alcohol normally, obviously, and I shouldn't be. But that was the thing. I was like, I shouldn't. And I would say I can't, in this sense of just like, I can't, man, because the consequences and all that comes with it. But really adopting this mindset of just like, you can't, as in, you can't go on a little bender, or you can't give in, or you can't have this escapism. I mean, it has to not be an option, because it is the hopelessness in thinking that I can go out again. Like a big thing is that I just kind of asked myself, a major question of like, to what end, honestly? Like, if you just feel it's too overwhelming and you can't like keep yourself from drinking, it's just like, well, we're just gonna start this whole carnival of madness again, and it's getting worse every time, as you always hear, and it's getting into more desperate situations, like in the hospital stays and um, suicidal ideations, and getting closer to the edge, and just all this darkness, and it's just like it's getting not only worse, but it's getting to the point of lethal. And you may not have another round in you, but even if you do, what are we doing here? I mean, you hate this restarting and doing this, and it's just like I think one of the biggest things I had to come to realize, and I thought I'd realized before, but maybe didn't fully grasp it or at least apply it to my life, is that there's just not, if I don't feel like I'm ready, I'm just, you hear that phrase a lot. Some people just aren't ready to quit, or some. This is to a point where it's like it doesn't matter if you are ready, because you know what? The truth is, you're just not gonna be ready. There's times where I legitimately felt like I'm ready to stop. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm just like, this is too exhausting. I totally feel mentally, emotionally, physically, even spiritually fatigued. And then there's times where I didn't. No matter how much I battered myself or how bad things are, I'm just like, oh my God, things are so terrible. And yet I don't feel like I'm done stopping. But I got to this point where it's just like, there's no more waiting for ready to be done. And one of the weird things I don't know, just this sort of mindset I've had is that, like, you just have to learn. I have to learn to be tired. I have to learn to be tired. Not just wait till I'm finally fully tired. I mean, how many do you want to reach worse rock bottoms? Do you want to just mess more stuff up, hurt more people, hurt yourself more? And it's just a weird thing. Like, it's fully something I can't quite explain how I'm doing or what I'm doing, but just learning to be tired, to just be like, dude, this is this is weird because this is all stuff I've said before too. Like, we can't keep doing this, man. But I don't know, I'm trying to embody that with like every fiber of my being, and I'm just trying to get to not get to a place, not get to this epiphany, get to this revelation. I've sat around and waited for revelations or epiphanies or spiritual experiences or all this big thing where it's going to dawn on me, we forever change. And it's like, just fully believing that, man, even though it may not be true, but man, that's not coming. That is not coming. You're just waiting for something. You're waiting for a different change of mind or a way of being that's just going to dawn on you, and you'll be ready like you've never been before. And that's just not arriving. So as much as it sucks, and as much as it, like, with the obsession, and as much as just like you feel brittle and life is just overwhelming, and like, goddamn, we're starting over, and you don't even feel like doing anything, and you're behind the 8 ball, no pun intended. But it doesn't matter how it doesn't matter how you feel about what you have to do. You just have to do it. And the biggest thing of how I'm trying to follow that is just doing what other people tell me. Now, sometimes it's easy to do that if you think the person's wise, or you think that they know what they're talking about, or if you don't feel like you know the answer. But the harder thing is to do it when you do feel like you know the answer, or you don't trust the other person, or you don't think that they don't have any idea what they're talking about. Even in those moments, dude, you just gotta listen to someone else, not you. Just do something. Even if you totally know it is the wrong answer, do it as an exercise of a sort of humility, or just a positive surrender, in a sense, that just, I give up, and I have to give up. Here's the different thing, though. Again, there's no more of these moments of singular, magical thinking, or like just a wash comes over you where you're completely changed. I have to, like, give up in a positive way. I have to give up just every day. Every day I have to be like, it's done. And if you don't feel like it's done, that is irrelevant at this point. It's just got to be done. So that's where I'm at right now. I got my phone back, so I'll be able to post and interact more regularly and everything like that. I hope all of you are well. If you're struggling, my heart goes out to you. If you're kind of in a position where I'm at, I know how you feel, or at least in some respects I do. Every journey is different, but I just appreciate all of you. See you soon.